If we could come to order. This is our final MTA diversity meeting of the year. So as the committee members know, I'm circulating an internal memo to the committee identifying what I thought were the successes and areas to keep working on for the last year and setting goals for the future. I've heard from Doreen Frasca, who can't be with us today, things that she thinks we need to continue to look at. I'll hear from the other committee members, and then that memo will also be sent to Jay Walder, the chair. I understand we have some public speakers today.
Yes. So we have two. The first is going to be Tim Marshall, who is the CEO of JBRC from Southeast Queens. And the second is going to be Walter Edwards, who is the chair of the Harlem Business Alliance and also on behalf of the MBLC.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, it's on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
My name is Timothy Marshall. I'm president of the Jamaica Business Resource Center and a member of the Minority Business Leadership Council. And I'm here today to further support the establishment and advancement of a premier minority and women business program at the MTA, and concurrently the New York State legislation required to provide bonding, funding, and technical assistance support for this initiative. As a long-term member of the New York City School Construction Authority's EEO Advisory Committee, and one who has been part of the leadership which has advocated for the strengthening and the advancement of its mentor and graduate mentor program, along with this access to capital and bonding components. I've seen firsthand the direct benefit of these initiatives in advancing MWBE participation and procurement opportunities at the SEA. Moreover, the entire advisory board believes that without these initiatives, we would not have secured the gains that have been achieved at the SEA. As you also know, under the leadership of Governor Patterson, Mr. Michael Jones Bay, and the Empire State Development Corporation, JBRC has worked with a broad coalition of public and private sector leaders, the Women Builders Council, and the leadership of the MWBE community to provide surety bonding support for minority and women-owned businesses in the state of New York. And we're pleased to have had the support of a broad constituency, including Mr. Michael Garner, for this particular initiative. And because of this experience and the documented results of the SEA's program, and under the leadership of Mr. Garner, and given the historic lack of MWBE participation and procurement opportunities at the MTA, we believe the measures you have outlined are crucial to advancing diversity at the MTA. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with JBRC, we were established by the Clinton Initiative at the White House Office of Management and Budget to be a national small business pilot program. We became operational in 1995. Since that time, we've provided technical assistance to over 7,000 small businesses throughout downstate New York. We've secured over $500 million in procurement and financing and bonding opportunities, and we've trained over 6,000 entrepreneurs in the fundamentals of business management. As a result of that body of experience, we have gained significant knowledge, experience, and awareness of the kinds of legislative, policy, and programmatic initiatives that are required to open doors, to break down barriers, and to advance MWBE participation both in public and private sector procurement opportunities. Therefore, we strongly encourage you to further establish and advance the initiatives that are being proposed here, and all of us in the MWBE community stand strong to provide any support that you need in achieving advancement for minority and women-owned businesses at the MTA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Mr. Wallace.
Good afternoon. My name is Walter Edwards. I'm the chairman of the Harlem Business Alliance. I'm also the CEO of Full Spectrum of New York, a green developer here in this city and across the country. So I have first-hand knowledge. I used to be a CM also in these different agencies, and So I had this experience that, I know what the minorities are going through, so I don't speak idly about this. I'm going to read a statement from the Holland Business Alliance. And it says, "Dear Mr. Gardner, the Holland Business Alliance unequivocally support the MTA's effort to significantly increase the percentage of contracts to certified minority-owned contracting firms in every aspect of its procurement and capital programs. Historically, minority-owned businesses have had limited opportunities to secure MTA contracts. The elimination of barriers to real contracting opportunities for minorities must move forward without further delay. This situation has to change, and change now. Not tomorrow or next year. Economic justice is imperative for the survival and sustainability of our communities. By growing MBEs, we increase minority entrepreneurship and minority employment with living wage jobs." Respectfully, I would just add to that I remember when we had a president here that was extremely interested in what he called stopping money going down a black hole. And that was welfare as he's seen it. And that was President Richard Nixon. And I worked with him at that time on the Black Entrepreneur Program. And he thought that if he would take the money and put into the black businesses where they would develop businesses, that they could hire those who from their community that was on welfare. Well, times hasn't changed, and we still need that opportunity, and we can only do it by getting contracts with authorities such as yours. So please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I'd also like to acknowledge in the audience Sandra Wilkin from the Women Builders Council and Bill Howell, who is the Minority Contractors Association. We understand the issues that have been raised this morning by our speakers. I know that you both support them as well. I think you also know that you're speaking to the choir here to this committee. But it's a good meeting to attend because we will be hearing about goals, in fact. Early on in the agenda, you'll hear about goals and some successes that we're hoping to look forward to. If I could have a motion to approve the minutes of July 27th, 2009, please. Second. Those in favor? Thank you.
So I wanted to acknowledge Ms. Monica Foster. Ms. Monica Foster also, who is a business person in downtown Brooklyn, who has done a great job in the industry and who is also a steadfast advocate of the inclusion of MWBE firms in this state.
Would you like to start with the first agenda item of MTA goals?
Yes, I will.
Oh, I apologize. I know there were some questions raised in the minutes, and my understanding is that each of you has received answers to those questions that you raised. If you haven't, please speak to me because I've seen all the answers. Thank you. Go ahead. Okay,
great. Thanks, Susan. I am pleased to announce that we are in the final stages of a contract award. After a three-year period, I think, we will be awarding a new software system that will track MWBEs on all of our projects. It would also gather data, and it will also allow our firms, our MWDBE firms, to certify online. And Susan gave me an assignment, and that was one of my first assignments, was to get this finalized. And with the help of Cliff Shockley, we have finally finalized this RFP, and is going to the board at some given point in time this month. So thank you, Cliff.
It actually passed Finance Committee this morning, and that passing means it will be at the board on Wednesday. So we're really moving along. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, we are in the midst of having our first class training program here, which will train our contractors not only how to become better contractors, but how to do business and finish our projects safely, timely, and on budget. And I think that we had our first class, OSHA training class last week.
Yes, we did. We had around 17 firms sign up for the OSHA construction course. They're going to receive 10-hour certification cards, and it was a 2-day course. Very well. Participation was great, and they won another class. So, yes.
Great. So in the upcoming weeks, we are going to have classes in estimating and scheduling and closeouts also as well. The bill, the mentor program bill, as I understand right now from John Sampson's office, is moving through the Senate as we speak right now. They are going to be called in a special session on next month on the 10th, I think, and I'm hopeful that this bill can be voted upon and passed in the state Senate, which is going to change the whole paradigm of our program efforts here. Not only with implementing a training program, loan program, bonding program, but give the small firms an opportunity to work and grow on projects they will bid on each other. On those projects against each other. And so we are very hopeful and very optimistic. As you know, the bill has already passed the state assembly, and once this bill passed the Senate, is going to change the way that we do business with respect to the smaller MWDB firms. We have finalized a outline of our bonding program with Marsh. In the mentor program, we are going to waive bonding, but the mere fact that we waive bonding, we're not helping these firms in the long run. So we are going to have a bonding assistance program in which Marsh, a large charity, is going to assist these firms in getting bonding, so when they graduate out, they will have bonding. And that has been finalized. The loan program also as well. We are currently talking to a bank that we will allow firms who will be bidding in the mentor program the opportunity to apply for a loan. And so the goal of this effort is to create a larger pool of diverse qualified contractors who can finish our work safely, timely, and on budget. And access to capital is a vital area. And we are currently talking to a large bank right now about crafting a loan program. The issue is the goal here is that our office is going to be evaluated on one thing, and that thing is going to be, at the end of the year, how many contract awards were awarded to qualified MWDB firms. So I am working with staff right now to monitor and to enforce the MWBE efforts that we have here. And with that being said, the same staff person now who is responsible for setting the goals on the projects is also now the same person who's going to be responsible for monitoring and executing the MWDB goals on all of our projects. And as soon as our system goes live, that's going to make a big effort and a big difference, whereas we can react now in real time in calling those contractors in who are not achieving their MWDB goals. Thank you.
Therein lies one of the values of having a computerized system, and I think one of the big takeaway points for the committee is that we're not just trying to open up the opportunities for minority contractors, but we're also trying to assure that they can be successful in this role, because we recognize that MTA is a very large agency with some difficulties in dealing with us from a small company perspective. Would you like to talk a little bit about this? Because this is one of the programs that's moving ahead, and I'm looking forward to it.
This program, as you may know, is coming down from Albany. For the first time, we have friends in Albany right now, who wants to make MWDB inclusion a real focus right now. And so we are going to be outlining our new program on the 19th at McGraw-Hill with a list of speakers, and we're going to also outline the model that was implemented at the SCA. So It's going to be panels. It's going to be having all of our large GCs there to meet qualified MWDB firms. And so we are very excited about moving forth and laying the infrastructure. So once the bill is passed, we are going to move forward on the fast track. And we are very, very excited about this day and this event.
Any questions? I'm sure that as you have a chance to look that over, feel free to call Mike or myself, and we'll discuss it in greater detail. Now we're going to move on to the agency-wide diversity outreach. Is
Yes.
that Zenaida?
Mm-hmm.
So greetings, everyone, and follow up with Mike's goals and his aggressive outreach calendar that he has put in place. We've been very busy in October by attending several events throughout New York State. The Mount Vernon Mount Vernon has actually organized a expo for the first time, and the MTA had a presentation on what our opportunities are here at New York State and how they are coordinated with Yonkers and Mount Vernon, Westchester County. This past weekend, we attended the DASNY conference, which is one of the largest conferences that the MWBE community has. Over 700 attendees were at this conference. It was extremely busy, and MTA played a role with the expo. We did speed networking, one-on-one, identified certain firms that were interested in getting certified and doing business with us, and Mike also spoke on some of the panels that were involved at the conference. We attended the 6th Annual Harlem Business Economic Summit, where we also made a presentation on how to do business with the MTA and gave them an overview on our certification process. We continue to hold the DBE certification sessions down at 2 Broadway. The OSHA construction course was the first course held towards the program, and it was very well participated. The New York City Minority Contractors Association and the Asian Women in Business Leadership Dinner are support that we give to the different advocacy organizations within the community that are, I'm sure, very well appreciated. We also partnered with the MTA Capital Construction in putting together a forum with the New Trades Forum. It was very well participated, I would think, as far as the members of the organization came and had an opportunity to understand the process and being active in the capital construction projects. This coming November, Ms. Garner has already spoken about the Small Business Program Forum that is going to be held on November 19th. So what we've decided to do with the agency-wide contracting forum is merge it into one. We are looking to, moving forward, move the MWBE Pension Fund Forum on to December, which will open up an opportunity for some finance firms to come in and kind of take a look at the MTA and how we do business with them. We will be participating at the Jamaica Business Resource Center Awards Gala and the Amity Association of Minority Entrepreneurs Gala, and the Professional Women in Construction Trade Show and Recruitment Fair, which is not only for minority firms but for HR opportunities. And that is my conclusion on the MWDBE program outreach, but the fun part comes when we are internally celebrating diversity. And there are some changes on here that I just wanted to note. Metro North will not be able to do the Croton Harmon open house, from what I understand, this year, but they will be having in December the train, the what is it called again? The holiday train, where its employees actually go up the line and actually salute the employees at different shifts. MTA Bus Co. and Long Island Bus celebrates the Hispanic Heritage Month and Italian Heritage Month, and Eva is here and would like to just note on that event that takes place.
Yeah, just briefly, we did have an event on September 18th for Multicultural Day, and that was held at Long Island Bus. We had a Top Chef contest during that event. Winston Mitchell of Transit News Magazine was our judge, and he invited the winner to appear on their holiday cooking show. And also what we produced from that event were favorite recipes from employees, and I've included them in the handbook for you. And I also included an invitation to our next event, which is this Thursday, the 29th. That's Hispanic and Italian Heritage Month. And I welcome everyone to attend. Thank you.
We thank you for the recipes. That's already been noted in great detail by some of our committee members.
And to follow, Bridges and Tunnels had an excellent Italian Heritage Month celebration, and Gloria is here to touch on that very quickly.
We had about 300 people. Hello. We had about 300 people in person and via the live webcast transmission of our program. Our speaker was Dr. Joseph Celsa, who's the founder and president of the Italian American Museum in Little Italy on Mulberry Street. It's the only one of its kind, and he spoke about the experiences that they had, which were noteworthy. The struggle of Italian Americans within CUNY, being the largest European minority, they've had a great deal of struggle in the past, and one achievement they had was what he called the dubious distinction of being included as an affirmative action category. So that was really interesting. We spoke about, we showed a film, we screened a footage of a film that showed the Italians arriving in the wave of the 1920s and the sacrifices that they underwent, the discrimination that they suffered, and for many who attended, they thought it was noteworthy. They discovered things about their heritage which they didn't know, which to me is always that speaks to me. That's music to my ears, and so that was very well received. Our next event will be for Black History Month in February, and we're going to screen a program, part of a PBS series on American Masters. That was the Nat King Cole story. He was the first African American to have his own television show at a time when that was quite an accomplishment. And his story is sad and it's beautiful and very moving. So we'll be showing that in February, and a flyer will follow. Thank you.
So moving along with November, the headquarters is working with New York City Transit Workforce Development in putting together a video to thank all of our veterans and employees who have actually served in the forces. So in December, MTA Bus again will do the International Dessert Day, and MTA headquarters will be celebrating Diversity Day, and I know I see the smile on Board Member Albert's face. Yes, it is going to be merged in with the International Dessert Day, and it's going to be our second annual talent show that we will be holding. We'll send you a notice. And that's basically my conclusion.
Thank you, Zaneta. Moving on to the certification program.
Good afternoon. What we are reporting on here is the period from July through September of 2009. At the close of June 30th, 2009, we had 29 applications pending review. During this reporting period, we processed 24. If you note, we received 45 new applications during this 3-month period, which is more than we received for the entire year of 2008.
Can I just interrupt
Sure.
for a second and say, that's great to hear. It would be so good if, sort of like we see on some of the transit things, if we could see a comparison to a similar period in the previous year on the sheets. I think that would be really helpful. Because you just said it's more than the whole last year.
Right. Last year, because I have it right in front of me, but last year, in 2008, we received 44 applications for the entire year. And as I said, in the 3-month period of July, August, and September, we received 44.
You know, that's really a testimony to the expanded outreach that's happening. And I'm hoping it's also a testimony to our ability to build confidence that we're serious about this.
Thank you. Okay. All right, the number of applications that were pending as of September 30th, 2009 were 50.
Well, that's the bad news.
Right. Right, we're getting a lot of applications, and there was 1 week I received 12 applications in 1 week, and so it's a lot we're getting in.
Yeah,
But there's also another interesting point, and that is the number of denials are up. As we get more applications, we're finding out more firms are being denied. So I will talk about that in a bit. Okay. Yes, yes.
I'm saying that Carolyn and her staff are very aggressive with respect to weeding out fronts when they apply and come in. The MTA has one of the stringent certification process, and I heard that when I was previously at the SCA, that the MTA was tough, and after getting here and witnessed it, she is very, very, very tough.
Okay. We have the next slide, please.
I'm sorry, I just want to go back real quick.
Yes.
So if I understand this chart correctly, there are 5 applications that are pending since June 30th?
I'm sorry.
So you had 29 as of June 30th. You processed 24. That means 5 were unprocessed during that period of time. What's the average length of time that those 5 applications remained unprocessed?
I'd have to give you a breakdown. I would have to go back to my office and calculate that for you.
Okay, great. And given that you're getting so many applications now, is there an anticipation of impact in the time taking necessary to process this influx?
I'm absolutely concerned about that, yes.
Okay, so if you could produce for us an analysis of what the average length of time to process an application was prior to this influx, and then what you anticipate the impact of this influx is going to be. And the good news is more people are coming in. The bad news is you guys have to work a hell of a lot harder. Thank you.
It's my recollection that you had lost a staff member
That's
in the
correct.
past, so you're not yet at full staff.
No, I'm
yet.
not.
So I think that's a partial answer, but it's not the whole answer.
If I remember from the last time, you made substantial progress in the outstanding applications.
Yes, we did.
Pending, so congratulations.
Thank you.
But as you say, you got 44 for the entire year. Last year, 45 in 1 quarter is a significant increase, and if you're down. I guess the root of my concern is people will become less enthusiastic if their application pens for a longer and longer period of time. And so we want to try to do everything we can to prevent that.
Right, but one of the things I'd like to bring to the table is that when you're talking about a firm being processed and you're finding out that the firm is being denied, it takes far more time than it does just for an average run-of-the-mill certification.
Again, I understand it's a lot of work and you're short-staffed, but again, we need to pay attention to it and be concerned. Several years ago, the backlog got particularly high, and the staff worked very, very hard to get it down. I just don't want to return to that.
Right, nor do we. Thank you.
And John, we are also thinking about, as we move forth with respect to staffing, what my long-range goal is going to be is to merge the certification and outreach areas, where there will be more resources, not only with staff going out and recruiting firms in, but then assistance in navigating those firms through the certification process in a hands-on, effective manner.
All right, here we have a breakdown of the certification determinations and the number that we had for each. During that period of time, there were 10 firms certified. There were 3 firms who withdrew their applications, 3 firms who had their applications returned, 1 firm who was deemed ineligible, and 7 denials of certification. As to the firms that were certified, 2 were in the area of supply, 4 in the areas of professional service, 1 in construction related, and 3 others. We had an interior design firm, a management consulting firm, and a title insurance title examination firm. For the 3 firms that withdrew their application, there were different reasons. 1, the firm was in the process of restructuring and decided it was not a good time to go through it right now. A second firm withdrew their application because the owner was working full-time. Under the federal regulations, that's prohibited. And the third firm that withdrew their application. They were unable to provide their key corporate documents, such as their article of incorporation and things of that nature. They withdrew until they could get those documents. For the returns, all three were returned because the firms failed to cooperate. One firm, we had made 2 separate requests for additional documentation in order to complete the file. The firm did not respond. A second one, we had to return the file because we had scheduled 3 ERMs. That's the eligibility review meeting that we have with the firm. The firm canceled all 3 ERMs. And what we basically said is when you're prepared to go through the process, then we'll process you. And the third firm was returned because, again, failed to cooperate. They did not respond to our request for additional information to complete the file. In terms of the one firm that was deemed ineligible, the owner had a personal net worth that exceeded $750,000, which is the threshold under the federal regulation for economic disadvantage. As for denial, as I said, we had 7 firms that were denied. And one of the things I'd like to also bring to the board is that as I talk to my counterparts in the UCP, they are all experiencing the same thing, an influx of firms that are being denied DB certification. In terms of the basis for the denials, one firm was denied because the socially and economically disadvantaged owner doesn't have the technical competence and expertise directly related to the type of service that the firm provides. The federal regulations are very specific as to what you must have in order to be certified. And although what may work in the real world may not necessarily work for purposes of DBE certification, and that was the case there. Another firm was denied because the owner did not possess the license required to operate the firm as an electrical contractor. Although it may not be uncommon in the real world to hire a license, you cannot do that under the federal regulations and be certified. A third firm was denied because the capital contribution used to acquire their ownership interest was not real and substantial in accordance with the federal regulations. What that means is they used the retained earnings from the firm they were purchasing in order to get their own ownership interest. In other words, none of their own money was used to acquire their interest. That's not allowed under the federal regulations. Yes?
On the returned or denied or withdrawn, actually all 3 categories, do we track how many and who amongst those resubmit?
I mean, no, but it's very easy for me to gather that information. In terms of a denial, once a firm is denied, they cannot apply for a year.
Okay.
That is unless they decide to appeal to U.S. DOT, and if we are upheld, they cannot apply from a year that DOT renders their determination. Returns, they can come anytime they want to, and so the same thing with withdrawals. Yes.
So those 2 are obviously likely to resubmit more.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Okay. Another firm was denied because the contribution of capital to acquire their ownership interest was not real. The owner did not have the technical expertise necessary, did not control the operations of the firm. The firm was not an independent business, and we could not distinguish control by that owner vis-a-vis control by the entire family. We had, another denial because the socially and economically disadvantaged owners didn't have the technical competence to directly relate to the area of service. They did not control the firm, and they did not possess the license required to operate the business. Another firm was denied because, again, lack of technical expertise, and the owner was involved in other areas that prevented him from providing sufficient time to his business. And the final denial was based upon the fact that the socially and economically disadvantaged owner was subject to restrictions, both formal and informal. They did not control the business. Individuals who were not socially and economically disadvantaged were disproportionately responsible for the operation of the firm. And again, we had a situation where control by the disadvantaged individual could not be distinguished from control by the entire family. So those were the reasons that we denied those firms. Next slide, please. Oh, that was it. So I basically addressed the number of firms that were certified, denied, withdrawn, and eligible, and the reason for it. And I will get that information, Mr. Banks.
And the next is the mid-year review.
Yes. Gwen?
Good afternoon. My name is Gwen Harleston. Now we're going to talk about MTA and its agencies' internal workforce and the numbers there. The overview is just a disclaimer which explains that the number and information in this report doesn't reflect the actual availability that's at each agency. So when you, although not stated in the overview, I'm going to be using the terms below or exceed 80% availability. That does not mean that a violation has occurred. Next slide. This chart is a comparison of the previous and current 2000 census 80% estimated availability for each of the protected groups. As you will notice, the estimated availability for all of the protected groups increased with the exception of blacks and American Indian, Alaskan Natives, which decreased. The Native, Hawaiian, other Pacific Islanders, and others are new racial groups, and they were added during the 2000 census. Okay. This chart is a chart showing the changes MTA-wide, okay, of the workforce demographics, the change from 2000 to mid-year 2009. The changes in Hispanic and Asian headcount and percentages of representation have increased over this time period, while the American Indian, Alaskan Native headcount and percentage of representation continues to decline. We're not exactly sure why the decline is showing. We can only estimate that it's because we added the two new racial groups, and some of the agencies have afforded their employees an opportunity to reclassify their racial group once the two new groups, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander, and other were added.
I want to add something here. Just, I took a look at the year-end numbers for 2008 because I've recognized that we have not been hiring as we normally would due to the budget constraints. So I had some concern that as our employee numbers was going down, that we might lose the minority representation that we had achieved. And so the important thing that you're seeing in these numbers is that for the most part that has not happened. And that's to be complimented because I had a considerable worry about it. Now, we're not to the end of '09 yet, and of course we have to look at it then, but at least mid-year we're holding our own.
Thank you. Next slide, please. We have been meeting with the all MTA Recruitment and Sourcing Roundtable. Our last meeting was September 25th, and we had Mr. Frederick Gill here that it's going to give you like a summary of what occurred in our last meeting on the strategies that they are coming up with in order to address the underutilization of females and minorities.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Fred Gill, but I'm speaking to you in behalf of the MTA Roundtable. One of the things we've done is for the initiatives that we're currently engaging in is not just primarily for cost savings, but as the whole MTA family, what we've done is to look at best practices. And in that area, we've gotten together, we've discussed various elements of how we can improve the product that we are given. Of that, we've also formulated a video which is going to be shown. And what this video shows is not just the diversity of our employees, but also the diversity of the work that is done by our MTA individuals. Is video ready?
exciting opportunities. Throughout all of our agencies, you'll be joining a family of 68,000 employees.
The MTA family is diverse, and there's diversity of work, including professional, non-managerial, skilled, and hourly work.
There are positions available throughout the MTA agencies, starting from our corporate headquarters to Metro North Railroad, Capital Construction, Bridges and Tunnels, MTA Bus, Long Island Railroad, and New York City Transit.
You'll be working with the largest transit system in North America, with benefits that are competitive with Fortune 500 companies.
The MTA has a career going your way.
Thank you. Very quick video that we utilize at career fairs and the like, and it was shown on a continuous loop so individuals can see the complexity of the organization as well as the diversity of careers that we do have. In addition, one area that we're also discussing is incorporating is the MTA Pavilion. We're going out to various communities, and in addition to a career fair, we're going to be hosting various breakout sessions such as resume writing, interviewing skills, dress to success seminars. The reason why is that we're concerned with the communities that we service. We are such an integral part of their lives. Now we have to be integrally part with them. And so if they do not get a job with Metro North or Long Island Railroad, Transit, or whatever, they still will ride our system, and we will be a part of that in their obtaining that career path. So therefore, we're going to have this MTA Pavilion. Our first event we're going to look at is in Norwalk, Connecticut. The date is November 7th. We also have an event that we're scheduling in Yonkers, and it's going to move to the various communities, and it's been received quite well. Thank you much.
Is that video on our website?
It's going to be on the website. I'm actually exploring that idea to put it on the website, and as you click on the employment area, that video will also show.
That's great. My compatriot here wants you to know that you're using an old map in the beginning.
Okay, I'll change the map.
No, it's quite all right. We've seen that map many times.
4 years old? Oh, okay.
I also want to comment that since I come from one of the northern counties, it's especially appreciated when things are moved around the MTA region, because sometimes people forget that we live out there.
Let me add also that these...
I'm sorry. Use the commuter rail side of the map.
Commuter rail side of the map? Oh.
That these roundtable meetings are going to be held once a month. We're getting data in, and the data historically has indicated that there are a shortage in our hiring focuses, and that's kind of hard to believe in the largest city in the country that we have a shortage in Hispanics and females. And so the data that we get should be focused towards outreaching in those areas and then making a difference. And so one of the first focuses was to drill down to each one of the operating agencies and to ensure that the recruitment person and the EEO person were working in sync. And so these meetings are going to ensure that we are going to focus and target where there is a shortage.
Michael, when you look at these charts of the demographics, you see how poorly we're doing among Hispanics.
Right.
I mean, it's obvious we don't have that many Pacific Islanders, perhaps, but we certainly have a great deal of Hispanics, and they're just not being represented here.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. If you didn't notice, and you've only just met Mr. Gill, Mr. Gill's voice is one of the voices that was on the video, as well as Aleda Myers at New York City Transit. So they're using their own in-house talent to get the job done. Next slide, please. On the MTA-wide workforce, as of June 30th, 2009, the MTA-wide workforce totaled 70,512 employees, with a net decrease of 531 employees. All of the agencies, next slide, please. All of the agencies' workforce decrease, with the exception of Bridges and Tunnels, Capital Construction, and Long Island Railroad, which increased. Females represented 17% of the overall workforce, while minorities represented 63% of the overall workforce. This next slide talks about the officials and managers job category. These are persons that are assigned to this particular job category or employees who set or exercise broad policies, direct departments or special agency operations, or provide specialized consultation. As of June 30th, there were 10,555 employees in the officials and managers job category, which represented 15% of the total workforce. 17% of the O&M workforce are female, 50% are minority. MTA has the highest percentage of females in the officials and manager job category, while New York City Transit has the highest percentage of minorities. And you can see this example on this chart. Next chart, please.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. Do you have what's the senior most levels of managers in the MTA family? Is there a title? Vice President, Assistant Vice President?
Of course, a CEO.
Right.
It would be probably the deputy executive directors, chief.
Right. And do you have an analysis of what the minority and female representation are in those managerial bands?
Yes, the way that we have a report that's called the Progress Against Goals Report. We produce this report on a quarterly basis. Attached to this particular Progress Against Goals report, one portion of the report analyzes whether or not if we're underutilized in a particular job group. In addition to this Progress Against Goals report, attached to it is what's called the workforce analysis. The workforce analysis breaks it down by position title within the job group. And then we break it out by the gender and race. So you'll see one half of the report will be males, white, black, and all the protected groups. And then you'll have the female population. And it shows the percentages with the actual numbers.
And I apologize if have we received this report? Did we receive this as an internal report?
I'm not sure.
Okay, can you just forward to me the current one?
No problem.
I apologize. I may have, in my haste to eliminate email, going through it. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Here we're talking about the new hires. During the first 6 months, MTA and its agencies hired a total of 1,078 employees. 15% are female, while 62% are minority. We can go to the next chart, please. As you can see, this just gives you like an example of the new hires, which we just talked about. Capital Construction hired the highest percentage of females, while New York City Transit hired the highest percentage of minorities. Next slide, please. Here it shows a breakdown by job category. A majority of the new hires occurred in the skilled craft and service maintenance job categories. These two categories are it carries the highest employee population at all of the agencies. This is the complaint handling section. MTA and its agency on external complaints handled a total of 349 EEO complaints, citing 544 separate allegations. As of June 30th, there were 349 complaints that remained open. We are showing an increase in each of the categories, once I go through the entire presentation. For the external, we showed an increase of 48%. We're not exactly sure why we're getting in so many complaints, but it may be because of the different changes in the EEO law that is generating more complaints being filed. On the internal, during the first 6 months, MTA and its agencies handled a total of 130 EEO complaints, citing 178 separate allegations. As of June 30th, 98 of those complaints remained open. Between mid-year 07 and mid-year 09, a majority of the complaints claimed race discrimination. With the Title VI complaints, during the first 6 months, 2009, MTA and its agencies handled a total of 13 Title VI complaints, citing 13 separate allegations. As of June 30th, 7 of the complaints remained open. Of the Title VI complaints handled between mid-year 07 and mid-year 09, a majority cited race discrimination. And that's, here we're just showing you a comparison. So because we had the question come up once before about a comparison, so we're showing you what it looked like for mid-year 07 to mid-year 09. And that's the conclusion of my presentation, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Do you know what proportion of the complaints, go back one more slide, the 349 external EEO complaints are found to be substantiated?
And the
For both internal and external. I mean, to me, that's the more significant number, is how many of these complaints are actually found to be substantiated.
in the larger book, I don't have the percentages with me for each of the years, but for mid-year 09, in the larger book on page 10-2, we have a breakdown for any of the complaints where we have a number under the column decided in favor of the complainant. That would mean that the agency, it was found in favor of the complainant. It means that it was a reasonable cause determination.
So folks who don't have this, there were decided in favor of the agency 33. Am I reading that correct?
Right. That means that that's no reasonable cause. There was no.
Decided in favor of the complainant, 0?
There was 0.
So of the 349.
No, of the 44 that were processed, that were closed, none were decided in favor of the complainant.
Okay.
Of the 32 that were closed for internal complaints, only 5 were decided in favor of the complainant. If you go to page 10-3, it will show you what action was taken by the agency for the internal complaints where it was decided in favor of the complainant.
Okay, thank you. So does that mean that the vast majority of those external complaints are still pending some form of review?
That's correct. 340, well, there were, I'm sorry, let me show you how many were still open. 305 are still open in the external complaints.
And the external complaints, who is adjudicating those complaints?
That's the legal departments.
I mean, but what's the governing body that the external complaint was made to whom?
Oh, I'm sorry. It would have been made to one of the 3 anti-discrimination agencies, like the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, New York State Division of Human Rights, or New York City Commission on Human Rights.
And do we know the average time of complaint resolution for those bodies?
On the external?
Yeah.
No.
I understand you have no control over
yeah,
it.
I don't.
You know, I can say that this number in the backlog has been pretty consistent since I've been paying attention. But how long it really takes them, I have no idea. Is there any way we could find out?
I'm sure the law department knows, right?
Rhonda.
Yeah.
Okay, I would request that they do that.
Okay. It's by agency.
Understood.
Okay. Can we do that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, we are. The goal-setting process. LA.
Between January and June 2009, the MTA and its family agencies awarded $3.24 billion in third-party contracts. Of those contracts, $670 million were federally funded contracts and $2.57 billion were state-funded contracts. On the federal side, $66 million were awarded to DBEs for the rate of 9.85. New York State, $68 million were awarded to minority and women-owned businesses for 2.60. Reason for the lower number in the state is due to awarding of mega contracts. For example, up to recently, we were assigning goals to paratransit contracts. Unfortunately, historically, we're not meeting those goals. At one point, they were less than 1% on each side. This year, during this time period, over $1.04 billion have been awarded on paratransit contracts alone. So obviously, the numbers will be lower. Also, the drug benefit contract was over $490 million as well. And we have specialty items as to subway cars. There was over $25 million contract on that alone on a specialty item for the electrical converter on subway cars.
That there's a renewed focus on contracts right now. The first part of this is paratransit. $6.5 billion in paratransit concert over a 10-year period, and there were 0 goals put on. That should not have happened. And so there is a renewed focus on. It was felt by one of the agencies that since the first contract that since the goals were not achieved, then the new goals should be waived. You know, since the goals on the first paratransit contract were not achieved, then there was an internal choice not to include MWBE goals in the $6.5 billion paratransit contract. Who made that decision? Yeah, I know. The agency, yeah. Right.
Yeah, because as a board member, I don't remember having any.
I don't remember that coming before the board. That had those goals, right?
It didn't come before the board to have them waived, but we did see the solicitation. Not the solicitation, we did see the staff summary on it, and it did say. No, it didn't say it was waived. I didn't include it. Right.
Let me say that there are conversations going on right now in the state senate and the state assembly because there are certain people out there who are livid over this, and Hillary Ring and myself have met with a number of them, and so we are currently working behind the scenes right now to resolve it. And also there's a new focus on granting goal waivers and goal reductions. I'm taking a look at every one of those requests myself personally, and in a number of cases, I am not granting goal waivers or goal reductions as we go forth. And so there was a $10.5 million Dell contract that I was asked to waive the goals. I then asked, were there any state-certified M&W prime firms who we can buy those Dell products from? And yes, there were. And so I'm currently working with the agencies right now into buying our products from state-authorized MWBE vendors.
Madam Chair, is it appropriate for us to request that such goal waivers come before this committee? I don't know the timing of those things, but I don't.
Yeah, because we don't meet every month is the problem.
And they come daily.
Clearly a goal of this committee, and it's so obviously not meeting that, it should have been flagged for this committee, I would think.
Let's see if this will work for you. I will work with Michael to have a report for us that allows us to identify which waivers have come forward. And also, if you pay attention to the new solicitations that we have, the new, the approvals that we deal with every month, you should already be seeing increasing goals there because Michael is achieving that. But he and I will work on a way that we can look at goal waivers.
I mean, my goal is not to make more work for you, but to make the agencies understand that this is not something that they should routinely be requesting because it's an inconvenience to them.
Right. Well, our goal is your goal.
Right.
But, you know, that's not to say that there are not valid reasons. It's just that they bear scrutiny.
And to be quite frank, I'm not going to make this decision. I don't have the expertise. I'm going to depend on Michael, but I want to send a clear message back down the pipe to everyone that this is something that we as a committee take very seriously.
Got it. Yeah, definitely.
I have about the statistics. Well, Michael, just so you know, we support you wholeheartedly in being hard-nosed with the agencies. Mm-hmm. Anyway, about the statistics, I had some questions because I know we generally saying we want to increase it for next year, our goals, yet we set the same goal this year for DBE that we had for the last 2 years, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if we have a general idea we're going to increase this, I just wonder how we're going to get there. I mean, I know there's the new state program, and we think that bill will pass, and I guess you're going to ramp up and be ready in January. That's when the bill takes effect.
Right.
But I'm just concerned that we're saying we're going to increase it and we're going to wind up with the same issue. Although I know I'm happy to see there's more firms being certified. But I mean, you're confident we'll be able to increase both the state and the federal programs for next year?
Or I'm going to die trying. One or two. So
don't do that.
There's increasing the total numbers, and then there's getting more
Percentage.
of the folks that you're not getting before.
Right.
And we're aiming to do both.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, we
But
are.
our goals aren't. Our goals don't seem to show that.
We set the goals on an annual basis,
Right.
so I can't disagree with you that the goals set don't show it, but we don't reset the goal just because we think we're going to get closer. We reset the goal on an annual basis and achieve that goal or better. There have been times in the past when we've done better than goal, but at this point, we're struggling, and
I know.
we need the programs that are being implemented in order to get where we want to be.
Right.
Well, let's hope the new state legislation allows us to do that.
And plus, I mean, we are meeting monthly now with all of the agencies talking about issues and problems. One of the issues and problems historically has been that we have included a lot of purchases in our numbers, subway cars and buses, which we need the okay from the state in order to omit those large purchases so our numbers can be focused on what's real.
Okay.
An example is when we give a contract for boring tunnels, there are not a lot of options on who we can give those contracts to. So one of the things that we looked at last year was how our very big mega projects was influencing our overall statistics. And you know, we keep looking at that, but
You may not get that interested in tunnels, but to call them boring.
Do you know them? They're pretty boring.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Am I okay? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nia Vasali, and my group is in charge of the MWDBE contract compliance. And if I may add to that, goal waivers, our group is very much taking care that we analyze when we receive goal requests. We analyze them very carefully in order that, down the line, we won't be receiving any more goal waivers. Actually, last Friday, we had an agency cross-training with procurement officials and staff. It was attended by around 80 people. We had 2 sessions. The first session had about 50, and then the next session is about 30 attendees. It was very informative for those staff and officials. Okay, where are we now? For this second quarter, we had 866 contracts that we are monitoring. contracts with MWDBE goals. These contracts comprise of a prior inventory of 844, and then we had awarded contracts also for this quarter, and then we had closed a few contracts also, bringing us to 866 contracts that we are currently monitoring. Of this current inventory, we have 3,349 subcontracts that are being performed by 1,026 subcontractors. Next slide. Of these subcontracts, we have 2 billion payments, 2 billion subcontracts and 400, hold on for a second. There are over 2 billion contracts at the inception of the contract, and wherein throughout the term of the contract, there had been amendments, and then which came up to about 2.1 billion subcontract amounts. And contracts by agency, next slide. We have New York City Transit comprise the majority of the contracts. This is by dollar amount, 42%. And then the lowest is by Long Island Bus, which has 0.81%. Overall, we have this 16.8 billion contract that had been awarded to the prime contractors, and of this, we have 2 billion awarded to subcontracts. And then, as stated before, we have, for the second quarter, we have an inventory of 16.8 billion, and of this, we have 2 billion subcontracts, or a total of 12.37%. For the second quarter of 2009, we have made subcontractors payments were 48 million. Sorry. Subcontractors have been paid 48 million. Compared to the last quarter of 2008, for the second quarter of the same quarter in 2008, there was only 42 million payments. So there was an increase from the previous quarter report in 2008. I just want to touch a little bit on what our group also is doing, other than setting goals and reviewing the participation that is being performed by the subcontractors. We attend pre-bid conferences. We attend the kick-off meetings. It's like to give the prime an overview of our program, of what we require, what the contract requires. And then during the throughout the term of the contract, we review the participation reports that are being submitted to us. And then we also do on-site investigations. These on-site investigations are really more of a deterrent rather than really fraud detection. This is really more of a fraud deterrent. And in 2008, we have done 49 site investigations, and for this year, up to this reporting, we've already done 47. And in 2007, we have done nothing.
Excuse me. Are these announced or unannounced investigations?
We have to have them announced, because in a perfect world, unannounced would have been better. But it's like we're working with tunnels, and then so we have to inform them that we are coming.
Safety issues going down.
Yeah. And our our staff is we also go on at night and then at weekends also, because sometimes the subcontractors are only working during nights and weekends, and we go there. We also, during the life of the contract also, we do subcontractor payment verifications wherein we kind of confirm with the subcontractors how much the prime had reported in their monthly participation reports. So we send these letters to them, kind of asking them to let us know how much are you getting paid. And then when we receive those payment verification reports, we compare them against the monthly reports that are being reported by the prime. If we see discrepancies, we kind of do more investigation, and if we find that there has been some kind of doubts on whether this prime is committing some fraud or like that, we refer them to the IG's office. We are also very aggressive with dealing also with project management. Our managers are always in constant communication with the project managers on the contracts that they are monitoring, so that we can immediately see whether there are problems or issues, and then we can rectify them as soon as possible. We also have interface with audit services. We have referred to audit services a few contracts for them to look into, especially those problematic prime contractors. And that
we are talking internally right now to get this office involved in the final evaluation of the contractor. It appears to me that this program is not going to have the kind of effectiveness that it should until this office is involved in the final evaluation of the contractor with respect to how they did with their MW DBE goals and results on each project. And we're currently having those talks right now as we speak.
That allows the contractor's history to follow into the next potential solicitation, which right now it doesn't always happen. There are two takeaways that I'd like you all to remember. One is when you see how many contracts are being monitored, you understand the importance of having an integrated computer system to allow that to happen. Just getting us the information on a timely enough basis to make a correction midstream is impossible without it. So this is a really big step for us. And along that line, as this system goes into effect over the next, and it's going to take a while, the next year, I'd like us to work on the kinds of reports that we'd like to see that might be more helpful to us in order to compare progress more effectively. So one of the goals for the committee is to define reporting that we think would be more useful to us on a go-forward basis to see how much progress we're making. Okay?
And second, in this era of transparency and accountability, I've asked the staff in moving forward to list each one of the agencies for this meeting so we can see how they're doing with respect to their MWDB results. And so going forward, every agency is going to be listed, and we're going to have the number of MWDBEs with respect to each agency. Yes.
Good afternoon. The next item is an update on the interagency MWDB task force meeting. This is a group of individuals from our office as well as staff from procurement departments from across the MTA agencies. We are starting to meet on a monthly basis. We had a meeting on September 14. The next meeting is scheduled for later on this week, and then we will be meeting from now on every month. And some of the things that we discussed excuse me, to some of the strategies and other issues that we discussed to increase participation by MWDB firms in contracting opportunities were the following, that we decided that there should be consistent best practices across the agencies, and we also decided that we would look at other properties in the region to see how they are doing in terms of their goal achievement. We decided to have a focused outreach across the agencies in terms of also having workshops and focus group meetings with primes and minority firms. We would look at contracts for inclusion of MWDB firms. The three items that were mentioned before, the graduate mentor program, the surety bond program, and the small business loan program, those are things also we discussed, which we thought that would also help us achieve increased participation by MWDBEs. We decided to have agency-wide training for both primes and subcontractors. We looked at debundling of some contracts, and some contracts indeed have been debundled, but there's also a push to conduct joint procurements. And we also decided that the Transit Authority has a list of vendors which they do business with, and we decided that that should be used as a model for all other agencies so that we can create an agency-wide vendor list. And agencies decided agencies should also use the subcontractor connection. Those are the list of minority, small businesses, women-owned minority businesses, and DBs who take part as subcontractors in contracting opportunities. And the last item, which is most important, and which Mr. Gardner touched on earlier, which is to the states allows to exempt certain contracts from MWDB participation, for which historically there is very little prospect for MWDB participation. So we decided to seek further clarification from the Economic Development of the state of New York on those. And if that happens, that would certainly increase our numbers and show us better results. Excuse me.
The next item is the Diversity Committee work plan for next year. As you all know, we revised our charter in order to have 4 meetings that better reflected when we had reports coming to us. The problem I have with the timing that we have right at the moment is that we go for 4 months without a diversity meeting, namely from now until the beginning of next year. So I am working with chairs of other committees and with Michael to see what would allow us to close that gap a little bit. I don't like going 2 months into the next year without a meeting. But other than that, it's important to understand that the specific agenda items, for the most part, remain the same, unless you have any choices to change them. And if so, let me know. That's easily enough done. And because it's required for us to look at our charter once a year, you have the charter changes in your book. The charter changes this year, since we only changed the charter recently. These charter changes are mainly reflective of the fact that the Office of Civil Rights and the Office of Corporate Compliance have been joined together. So these are terminology changes more than anything else. But that you'll also recognize as one of our successes in the last year. So if there are no other changes to the charter, I will ask that this charter move through. Okay? I think it's just to cover it. All in favor? Any opposition? Then I would like you to note that I expect you'll see a change in the date of our next meeting, but I don't know quite yet what it would be. It just seems too long to me. And if I could, January would be my preference. If I could have a motion to adjourn. You don't usually all look at me with fish eyes when I say a motion to adjourn. You know?
I wanted to recognize a good friend of this program and someone who's known, and that's Reverend Jack DeGraff, who is the Associate Minister at the Historic Canaan Baptist Church in Harlem. He's also the Vice President of the 100 Black Men, and he also is co-host with the name is slipping me right now, MSNBC, Chris Matthews. Yes. And so, welcome.
Definitely a supporter of ours. So Somehow I missed him coming in.
Oh.